Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Signal 11 Outdoors. Today, I have a New Jersey guest with me, Eddie Mackin. How are you, Eddie?
How are you, Steve?
Good to finally get you on here. I've heard about you. The interesting thing is, I made sure I didn't do too much research because I'd rather this be 100% organic. And the weird thing is that we have some mutual friends. I mean, I obviously see you on Facebook and Instagram and message back and forth with you throughout the hunting season. But I actually, sometimes I'll get on another podcast or something just to get an idea who the person is I'm about to talk to. I know you enough that I didn't have to do that. But I will tell you, I did get on Chris and Joe's podcast for about 10 seconds. It starts out with them talking about you, and I'm like, you know what? Let me shut this off because I'm going to find out about Eddie more than I know about you just right now, like everybody else, I think, who's watching this. So I'm glad to finally get you on here. I know we talked about doing this for a while. I want to cover a couple things, and this, who knows which direction this will go, because I know you're an avid hunter. I know you're an avid fisherman. I know you hunt a lot of different animals, and I know you chase a lot of different fish, and I know you have a fishing business as well. So I think how I start out is I start out asking guys how to get into hunting or fishing, but I think if it's okay with you, Eddie, I'd like to dive right into the fishing business part of it, because that's kind of that's what I hear about a lot, is get out on the water with Eddie. He runs a great business, and I believe it's just Lake Hopatcong, but you can correct me. And so, if you don't mind, you good with that? If we start out just talking about what you got
Yeah,
going on
no.
with the Mackin's Rippin Lips Fishing Trips. I think I got that
Yeah.
right.
So the name itself is just real funny. I'm trying to drum up a name for like a business like that. You could do the generic like guide service thing or something like that. And no knock to those guys, like a very standard, very formal thing. You just got things like wrapping in your head. And I was just happening to run the weed whacker one day, and I was like, like ripping lips. I was like drumming on it, drumming on it, drumming on it. Talked to my wife about it. I was like, I'm like, well, I'm thinking like Mackin's ripping lips, and then she just like spit out fishing trips. And I was like, oh, that's that. I mean, that was anchored in right then and there. That's how the name came of. But I've been fishing Lake Hopatcong for since I was a little kid. I was introduced to the lake. My mother, my parents got divorced, whatever. My mother moved up to the lake. She moved, we were like a block away from the lake. I mean, like we used to walk down there every day, me and my brother. We were young. Anyway, best thing like ever, literally the best. We moved right up the street from Brady Bridge. And Brady Bridge separates the north and south side of the lake. So if you're a hunter, if you're just an angler, if you're just legitimate, logistics, all the fish that have to go from one side of the lake to the other side of the lake had to go through this little neck. Man, it was like a whole new world. Now we fished, we grew up fishing. It wasn't like, we didn't fish. My father took us fishing all the time. My mother took us fishing all the time. We were just always in it one way or the other, though. Wrapped into the Knee Deep Club, which is a local fishing club here. I'd been on the lake for forever. And I got to fish with some of the greatest guys like ever. A lot of those guys are gotten out past, and you learn a lot of things, like a lot of things from people that just did it for a long time, without the technology that we have today, with what they have. And I was able to like soak that in at the age of like 11, 12 years old, like I was I was a boat whore, let's put it that way. If there was an opportunity for me to go on a boat and they wanted to go, I was going to go, and it was really cool, and really looking back on it, it was really, really cool. Those guys back then, and a lot of those guys still exist. They're still around, but, I got introduced to it at a very young age, and, it's, it's quite the oasis, for fishing. It's got it all. And it always seems like you just when you think you've about had enough, it surprises you and something else comes ahead. And like it's, something that you've been doing your entire life, it still gives you, you're like, what was that? Like you lost a giant, you seen something, just something like that. And then, you move even forward, start having, I get married, have kids, the whole nine. Well, you can't work like two full-time jobs anymore. You can't do all that stuff. And I had gotten into it with the other Lake Hopatcong guide service, worked with those guys for a little bit. And, I just saw an opportunity where I was like, I could do this myself. And it was like, no hard feelings, went and did my thing. And here I am now. I've been fishing on that lake for well over 20 years, 25 years of my life now. And, It's what I do. I'm just on Lake Hopatcong. I'm not trying to like take over the world. It's just a lake that I know, a lake that just provides an incredible fishery, and it's right here in my backyard, and something that I'm literally on that lake 4 or 5 days a week. For 8 months of the year. It's really quite. Gets a little overwhelming sometimes, but it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's just listening to you, and I'm glad I didn't. It's funny. A lot of times, people, especially people I know that know I do these podcasts and stuff, which is a weird thing to me. Believe me, it's weird for me to even be doing this. But I have a lot of people ask me like, "Oh, do you research people and this and that?" And pretty much, I mean, I don't. And it's interesting. I'm glad especially somebody like you. So, we're friends on Instagram. I think I'm friends with you on Facebook. We have mutual friends. I may be the only guy talking to you, or maybe I don't know how many of these podcasts you've done. I know you've done at least one. I'm sure you've done quite a few. But I'm one of these guys that's actually doesn't really know much about you. So it's kind of cool because I'm going to learn, and I'll ask you really honest questions that that I'm not prepared to ask you, which is to me, it seems to be the best way. And the first thing I pick up from you before anything is listening to you, that you capitalized on the experience of other people as you grew up, and you just listening to you. And I obviously didn't know you back then. I really don't know you now. I'm taking your word for it, and it's awesome stuff when you hear somebody say that they realize that they were learning from people that had experience, older people. They don't always have to be older than you, but usually that's the case. And hearing that is really refreshing because you covered something that some people won't even mention, because a lot of people today want to be the guy that knows it all, learned it all on his own and all. And I'm sure you've learned a ton on your own being on the lake multiple days a week. But the fact that you learn from the elders and stuff is really it's the smartest thing, whether it's hunting or fishing or, you know, uh, playing a sport. I mean, it's just really cool to hear. With that, Eddie, how many years has your obviously been fishing forever? You just explained that to us. How many years have you actually ran the business? Is it a relatively new business on your own?
It's newer. I'm in my third season. I started in 2023.
Okay.
Yeah, so this will be my third season, on my own. I'm blessed, let's put it that way. It's working, just best foot forward and just, pick up the phone, when it rings and take people fishing. Do the best you can, Just believe that you're gonna catch a fish,
I'm going to
That's
tell you,
that's the thing.
all you can do is you can only do your best to try to get them on the fish. Right?
Right, that's it. I tell a lot of people a lot of times, and they sit there and it's like, you're in there. I don't know how to explain it. It's like your intuition, you just kind of go with it. And they're like, we're not catching anything. And I just like, I'll be in the boat, and I'm like, I'm just going to let you know, like, we're not going anywhere else. I'll die on this hill. Like, they're going to be here. They're here. And then, like, it pays off. But, it's one of those things where you got to believe that it's there for them to believe you that it's there. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're looking at you. So that's just how it goes. That's fishing.
That is definitely fishing, and that kind of is hunting as well. And we'll talk about some hunting and stuff toward the end. But what I was just thinking about is you know being somebody who doesn't really I really don't know much about your business aside from I wrote down the name because I know it could be a tongue twister, but I will tell you, for 3 years doing it, I mean, the word is out. I've heard a lot of people that have fished what you mentioned to me. Hey, you got to get out there with this guy, or if you know anybody, you got a lot of positive feedback getting bounced around through, phone calls and messages with friends and stuff. So it's really cool. I mean, it's kind of how you got on my radar was through this business. I didn't really put the two together because I think I was friends with you on Facebook before I found out about it. But hearing so many positive things, it makes me get right to the next question. I'd like to ask you about two different aspects of the business because that's what I'm focusing on right now. For somebody who's brandy new, maybe they've never fished on Lake Hopatcong, maybe they're a bank fisherman. They're thinking of, somebody has said, hey, this guy Eddie Mackin will get you out on the lake. They don't own a boat. Give us an idea just for the people who really maybe have never been out with a guide or an experienced angler on a lake like Lake Opakon. A beginner, I mean, what's the process? Obviously, they're going to get in touch with you. Just give us an idea how they get in touch with you and what can they expect? What are they bringing with them? I mean, I fish a lot. When I get to the next question about the experienced guy going out with you, I consider myself fairly experienced, but I would still want to know what you would want me to bring or not bring. So with the brand new guy, doesn't really know, he's coming out with Eddie Mackin for the first time. He books a trip with you. What should he expect? What's the process with that?
So quite simply, you contact me, right? I get in touch with you. We, you hash out a date. You tell me you don't know anything, you have nothing, but you want to say catch a walleye, right? Lake Hopatcon's premier walleye fishery, right? Shout out to Fish and Wildlife. They do a fantastic job with stocking and keeping, and letting it thrive. The fishery is just like unbelievable. Anyway, do you want to catch a walleye? I'm like, great. So listen, I tell you, let's just say it's spring months. Be like, listen, we're gonna try to fish the last 2 hours of light and the first 2 hours of dark, right? Well, we'll call that prime time, right? And that's the prime slot. And then I'd be like, all right, great. You want to come out there? And they say, what do you bring? I provide everything. I'll give you the rods, the reels, whatever. If you have something that you want to bring, something that you want to do, something that you feel more comfortable with, you're welcome to bring it. We don't have to I'm not going to tell you that no, it's yours, your trip, your rod, you want to do whatever. But I have stuff all I wouldn't call it top of the line, but it's pretty adequate gear. So anyway, do my we'll set up a date, hammer that out. I'll reach out and confirm with you couple days beforehand. Everything's all good to go. Give you location, everything else, and then off we go. At any point in time, I'll be fishing. I'll try to demonstrate what to do, how to do it. I'll be fishing right alongside them, right? And this just goes with anything else. I want to see you catch fish, but I also want you to believe that the fish are there, right? So like I'll be fishing and alongside them or telling them, giving them the front of the boat, obviously, and have them pitch in the right way, right? Now, not just because you don't know what to do doesn't mean you can't learn, right? And all it takes is like anything else. Like once you hammer that out and you get it, then like that's you have the confidence. Confidence is everything. Confidence in your lure, confidence in your casting, everything like that. And then it all just comes together. Whether you catch one walleye, you got one. Right? Some nights you go out there and you can catch 11 walleyes, and you're like, man, we crushed it. But at the end of the day, it's your confidence. You came, you had no idea what you were doing, but now you know what to use, how to use it. The colors, the spectrums of everything from naturals to funky colors. I mean, just everything like that. And then like the gear, what to use. And like you're gonna leave the boat, hopefully having caught your first and say your biggest, not just your only, but you've got a couple big one, a couple of them, and you got a big one, just that the other thing. And you're leaving a lot more than, and like, you're leaving with knowledge, and knowledge is king. That really, that's a big deal. Everybody wants the picture, right, for Instagram, but a lot of people, they want to know what's in your tackle box. You know what I'm saying? They want to know like, what are you using? How do you use it? It's like anything else. So that's key. That's a big part of it.
That's great. I mean, hearing that, anybody that I was going to lead to, like if I was going to lead somebody to go out with you on the lake and they watch that couple minutes that you just talked about there, they're going to feel confident. They don't need anything. They got a guy that's going to show them everything, provide everything. I mean, that's truly just, you can't ask for anything better than that. So as a beginner getting out there, they're gonna have a great time. And listen, obviously can't promise them that they're gonna catch fish, but like you said, they're gonna learn something, they're gonna see something. Especially if you're really, really brand new, you're gonna be in for. It's like going to Disneyland, man. I mean, there's so much shit going on. If you're like a brandy new person on a boat fishing, it's wild. I mean, even if they pick up 3 or 4 things, they're going to be successful, and then catching fish is just a bonus. So Eddie, that leads me right to the next thing. Now, me personally, I suck on Lake Hopatcong. I had a boat. I got rid of my boat. I fished Lake Hopatcong a few times, not a whole lot, maybe 15, 20 times in my life. Fished it with the kayak. I'm a kayak guy now just because it's just easier for me to own one. But I'll be getting another boat. I've had a couple. But I'm terrible on Lake Hopatcong. I really am. I'm more of a shallow water pond, small lake guy, and I never claimed to be a great fisherman, but I can go out and catch a whole bunch of fish. Bring me on Lake Hopatcong, and I'm struggling to catch just 2 or 3. So a guy with any kind of experience. Now we get into the fishing with the experienced guy. I personally think that the experienced guy is going to learn even more because I know me personally, there's probably, if you showed me 10 things, I was probably doing all 10 of them different. Now, I'm not going to say wrong, but from a guy like you with all the experience you have, I would say the way you're doing is definitely more on the right side than what I'm doing. So I think as you get experience, guys, they're probably learning a shit ton from you.
I want to tell
So
you something. Yeah, like not to cut you off, but I've learned things.
yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
not perfect. I'm not perfect by any
Right.
means, right? I know how to catch fish. I know how to catch fish a certain way. You never don't know everything. And I've had people walk on the boat, and I run these night trips, right? And I run them at like a discounted thing as a single angler fare, right? And I set these things up. That's a whole nother thing, but I call it the red eye trips, right? Because it's usually all night bite stuff, because it's like to be honest with you, everyone's like a junkie. They just like they need to get in on this night bite, and it's like 7 weeks of hell for me. It's fun. Don't get me wrong, I like fishing, but it kills me. That no sleep just beats me up. But anyway, uh, there's guys that come out in the boat, they bring their own gear, they have their own lures. That's all part of the deal, right? That's what comes with the price. So you bring your own stuff. And now, usually, typically, I would say 80% of the people are the experienced angler. It's a deal for them. They come out and I learned something. Sometimes I learned something when it's just frustrating. Like, when the fish are just blowing up all over the place and you're doing it. And the guy's like, do you think this is going to work? I'm like, dude, whatever you have might work because whatever I have doesn't work. So just like throw it out there. You don't know. You never know. You never do know. You never will know. Every day is different day, but when it does work, you can bet, Steve, you can bet your ass. And I'm going to say it this way. As soon as that next day, I'm investing in a handful of whatever did work, right? Because now it's in the arsenal. I've seen it work once, and it's usually it's not like it's usually by mistake. It's usually how it works, when like that's what works. You work hard at making it work, but then like there's just the dumbest things that work in it, and it produces bites. And I'm not too proud to say that I learned from that too. Be like, well, after your third fish in a row, I'm
Sure.
like, that seems to be a thing. It's that happens. When you're struggling to get bites.
My thing was, and I didn't want to sound like Eddie does everything right. My thought process is, I take people fishing. I take guys out where I fish a lot, and it's funny. I catch a lot of fish, but I also think I have to really think about it. I'm like, man, there's a lot of days I get skunked. You get skunked a lot. It's like hunting. I hunt 65, 70 days a year, and people go to me, oh man, you have so many opportunities. Well, yeah, if I'm going to stand, 50 more days than you are, yeah, I do have more opportunities. So to me, like if I go on Lake Hopatcong with you, I'm going to look at everything you're doing as somebody who's learned from elders, learned from experience, learned from time on the water. So to me, it probably is more right than what I would go out there, because the few times that I fish Lake Hopatcong, I literally shit the bed. So, you know, that's my point is, yeah, the guys with experience. I mean, I probably, like most people, I think, and it's funny because, like you said, you probably gain more experience seeing your clients fish, and what they're using when that happens, because they might have shit in their tackle box you never even thought about buying. So
Never.
at the end of the day, you got a ton of experience from gathering all of that info.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, it's hands on. It's not like something you've seen in a movie. It's like right there. It's real time. It's life. You're just like, well, that's what I said. Like, you bet your ass I'm ordering those tomorrow. Like as soon as we get off this boat, I'm doing it.
Well,
That's
I
the
think we're all the same in a sense where we all do that. I mean, I bought stuff that I didn't even see anybody catch a fish on, but it caught me, and I had, like most guys, I have spinners, retail racks in my garage with shit on it that actually we just had a fishing contest in our town. And they were short on door prizes. I said, hold on a minute, I'll be right back. I ran home. I had so much shit that I bought that I've never even used. But yeah, if I see somebody catching something, I'm buying that tomorrow,
yeah.
without a
I
doubt.
I had a
So,
I had a pretty wild experience this year. And sorry, I just want to throw this out there.
all
I
right.
go up and talk about like lures and stuff, right? So it's a curse. It's the
Yes.
Mackin curse. I'm just gonna call it the Mackin curse because it's probably the most relatable thing that anyone has. Anytime something actually functions in my life, like I find like a tool, lure, grunt call, anything like that, usually within the next year it's discontinued and you can never get it again. Right, slip bobbers. I mean, I can just go through a list of things like, oh, this rod is the best. Like,
Right.
yeah, it got bought out by another company. They make it differently now. It's not the same. And like, you're just like, reels. I see it every day with reels because the fishing company, the fishing world is just like moving it so fast, and who buys who and whatever else. And I was at the Rockland County show this year, right, with my kids walking around. I got two little ones, right? And my little one just like dives into this guy's booth, right? I don't think nothing of it. Just a wild story. And there's a guy. It's just like, looks like he's got freshwater stuff. Nothing, nothing crazy. There's a Rockland County outdoor show. And he's in there and he's got his little spray machine and he's making custom lures and stuff. And I was like, man, that's just like, just I'm holding my smaller one and I'm looking at the lure and I'm like, that's pretty neat. You don't see that every day, guys doing it. And I look on his little display and he's got some like amazing lures and lures that I can't get anymore. I mean, it's like this guy is making that lure, right? So I'm like, holy smokes. So like immediately I get this guy's name, I get his information. I'm like blown away. I'm like, listen, let me see that lure. I got to buy that lure. I buy it right there off the shelf. Give him my card, the whole nine. I did like a lap and I was like, I got to go back and talk to this guy. And I just went right back, got his information, and I told him, I said, listen, I'm putting in a big order. I'm like, this is something. And this guy's making like premier baits, doing whatever. And Jeff at Supernova Bait Company did an outstanding service this year. I mean, me and him and I ordered. Man, I ordered a bunch of lures this year. This guy started spitting out lures, making this stuff. Just when you find it's like a cheat code, right? Like you can't get the lure anymore. But now we got a guy that makes that lure with the better hooks, with the better split rings, and doing everything else. And it's how you want it, And that was a big deal for me this year. That was a big thing. If you want a lot, that was a very, very big deal for me in my business this year because I was like, when you buy certain lures, and I'm not saying like every lure will work, but at different times of the year, the weeds grow at like a different rate in the lake. And a lot of where we fish is in the shallower water in the weeds. So like to find that specific lure at a specific color to do what it needs to do. And I was able to do that with him. And that was a big deal. That was a lot of success right there. That guy was able to make that. And I'm sure if you buzz through Amazon enough, and you scroll through 9,000 lures somewhere in, some guy's garage, Japan or somewhere, I could have found it. But this guy's making it. I get it within like a week, and it was awesome. It was just an awesome, awesome thing. Jeff hooked it up big time this year.
He turned around the Mackin mush.
Dude, I couldn't. I was like, I owe him like he's appreciative of me. I was like, no, dude. I'm like, you have like an empire. You don't even know how good it is. I was like, he's making gold. He's making gold. The guy did a fantastic job. And I'm not saying he's the only guy who can do it. What I'm saying is that like,
right,
he's got a talent. The man's very, very talented. And he really hooked it up this year. It was awesome.
Very good. Now, obviously, I'll have to edit these things so I can throw photos up. So I'll get some photos from you or whatever, and we'll throw it up. But give us his name again, because I didn't really hear what the name of his business is.
Jeff at Supernova Bait Company.
Okay. Is he local guy or no?
No, he's just north of Monticello. That's why he was up in New York. Like I said, it's a little bit of a, you pay for the shipping and everything like that. But like, he's a guy, he's just north of Monticello. That's what I got out of him. I didn't really know where he was. Yeah. The show just happened to be like our common ground in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know that show went from greatness to obscurity, and now it's back, and hopefully they I don't know if it's a new owner or whatever, but how was it? I didn't get there this year. I was away. Was it pretty good?
Yeah, it was pretty good. I mean, they had a lot of stuff. Tacticam was there. Tacticam was there big time. They had a lot of more new outdoorsy kind of stuff, like stuff like real, saddles. They had all the junk. I mean, I'm not going to call it's not like the Great Outdoor Show by any means, but it tickled.
No.
It wasn't socks and pans and, all the other beef jerky and pickles, it wasn't, it was much more, much more,
Did you get a good sham wow there or no? No chamois. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because when I go to those shows, I used to look for a Floby, but that was about it. But even the Jersey Salt Show, man, it's picking up again. It's getting back to where it was at one time, right?
Yeah, no, that's a show. Yeah, I used to do that too. But, we did that. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I go to like a bunch of them, but
Cool.
I was pleased to. It was like locating an angel, just like I was like, oh my god, I was like, this guy's making gold over there, It was pretty cool.
You know what, Eddie? It's so cool to hear because, I mean, I don't know I don't even know what the bait looks like, but I will after I do this podcast. I'll pop it up and I'll do a little research, throw some photos up. But I love hearing that because you're a guy that's out there fishing like crazy, got clients out there, and then you stumble on this guy that's probably making him out of his house, and I know what that's all about. So it's really cool that he's probably so excited to meet you. Now you put a big order in. People are out there catching fish on him, and I don't know this guy. I don't know who this Supernova guy is, but he's doing all of that work to make a little bit of money and get a lot of satisfaction out of people like you and your clients catching fish. So it's really cool to always hear that about a small business.
Yeah, no, I was proud. I was proud. I'd be more than happy. I'm honored to, the guy was very few times do you give a guy like something exact, and he meets exactly what what you wanted. And then just, it works. I mean, dude, opening up the package and you're like, I can't believe it's going to be here. Like, is this real? Throw it out there. I made a video on
Right.
Instagram. It's floating around. It's probably like an 8-pound walleye or whatever. I just like picked the lure up, threw it out there. I don't think I moved it like twice. Just call it fate, call it whatever.
Right.
But I was like, dude, I was like, I couldn't believe I did it. It's just an awesome thing. Awesome.
Cool. That's cool. Now, before we start talking a little bit about hunting, for anybody who wants to go out fishing with you, what can you can target what? Anything? What are you targeting on Lake Hopatcong? And then at the end of that, I want you to go over how we get in touch with you, and I'll pop up your Instagram, your Facebook, and all in some photos.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
what can you target? What can a customer go after with you?
Lake Hopatcong has a lot to offer. I'll say the walleyes, the hybrid stripers, the bass, muskies, those are like the bread and butter, right? Walleyes and stripers definitely exceed the top. But Lake Hopatcong's notoriously known for its panfish. A lot of crappies, a lot of perch, uh, you know, catfish. If that's your thing, we are littered with catfish this time of year. I'll get guys in the springtime that just want to go crappie fishing, and that's what we do. And just as much as guys want to do stripers, I can tailor any trip to whatever you want to make it. If you want to just go catch a bunch of fish, we can go do a bunch of fish. You want to go use light tackle and throw jigs, we can just go do that. I mean, I'm very open to, I'm not set in stone. I'm just burying the grind on just the walleyes and stuff. It just happens to be that we catch walleyes. I mean, pretty much from ice out right to right now, even now. I mean, right now we're in the middle of July. Guys are still going out at night, still going out there and creeping on them and getting on them. And, I'll probably pick that game back up more towards September, that the nighttime thing again. I mean, it still exists. The nighttime still
Right.
exists, but no, just about anything, Lake Pacon holds like 13 species of fish. We can go out and do it, anything.
Gotcha. So beside the creeping while you're sleeping, you'll take clients out in the daylight as well?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. I'll do like kids trips. I run the fundamentals of fishing. It's more just for like total novices. It could be a total beginner, but whatever. But I gear it down. We go use worms, teach people how to cast, do things. And I've taught adults just as much as I taught kids. Done a few birthday parties already with kids on the pontoon boat, which is really fun. That usually turns into some astronomical giant fish that surfaces in the middle of that. That usually happens. Yeah, it's just like so cliche. Uh,
Right.
yeah, just yeah, I do. Like I said, I offer that, and I can be located. I have a website. It's Rippin Lips Fishing Trips.com. Facebook, Instagram, and you know, I answer the phone or the text. Pretty much like on the spot as they come in. Um,
Cool. Good, and I'll throw up the info on the so people who watch this can pause it and see basically like a business card or your
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Instagram, Facebook, whatever you have. So that's cool. That's cool, man. It's interesting, and I may be one that gets out there with you at some point because I don't really get on Lake Hopatcong anymore. I had a 16-foot, I had an 18-foot boat that I used to get out on Lake Hopatcong. I really haven't had a boat in probably 2 or 3 years now, and I'm thinking about getting another one. I get out on a kayak, but on the kayak, I'm basically fishing some of the coves and stuff, and I don't even do that a whole hell of a lot because I don't know. I don't have a lot of time, unfortunately. So that's why I got rid of the boat because the kayak could sit in my backyard, and I got rid of the motorized kayak. I went to just a pedal kayak, and because my son who fishes like crazy, he's so busy with college and jobs. His hasn't even touched the water yet. Mine's been in the water like 3 times. So I may have to get out with you, and that would probably be refreshing and probably be really a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We can make that
So,
work.
Eddie, let's get into a little bit of hunting if you don't mind. I know you enjoy your I know you enjoy we could see what's behind you there. I know you enjoy bear hunting as well, correct?
Oh yeah.
I guess you probably chase turkeys and birds and everything else.
So it's probably the only thing that I don't do as much is because fishing usually trumps all that. And, you know,
Gotcha.
if I wasn't like a working man, I would be able to do both. It wouldn't be so bad. But birds,
Right.
turkeys are probably one of the few things. I probably only shot maybe a dozen turkeys in my life. You know,
Okay.
fishing. I used to do a lot of landscaping, but now I do a lot more fishing.
Yeah. No, I got you. And you know what? Turkey, the thing that sucks about turkey in New Jersey, this is just my opinion. I mean, other people's too, because I've talked to plenty. The whole process of how New Jersey handles the turkey permits with the your Monday through Friday, your Saturday permits are different. Every week you got to have a new permit. If you shoot a bird and you want to get another permit midweek, you have to obviously got to buy a permit. I'm not against buying a permit, but I don't know. I'm not crazy about how New Jersey runs a turkey for the working guy. The guy that's off, if you're retired and you're I hunt with guys that are retired. I'm retired, but I work harder now than when I was a fireman. But for the guy that can only get out, maybe scratch off a day during the week or get out in the morning during the week one or two times, I kind of think it sucks how New Jersey runs it. That's just my opinion. I think you should buy a permit. You should get Monday through Saturday, and I think the zones are. I understand why they do it. I think just the way they have the zones set up and all is just it makes it difficult for people to go out and enjoy turkey hunting without buying tons of permits. I'm a one bird guy. This year I didn't even shoot a bird. I try to go every year. If I shoot one bird, I'd rather get somebody else on a bird after I get one, or I'd rather get them on a bird before I get one. But I got tired of buying permits and not going out certain days because I didn't buy the permit. It's Friday. I have a day off. I want to go hunt. Do I buy a permit for one day? I mean, I know it's only like 22.50 or whatever it is, but sometimes it's just a point. But I love turkey hunting, but the permit process pisses me off.
Yeah, no, I got a 6-year-old. He's coming up, and the kid look I made a couple little devils. That's what I did. They're animals, they're beasts. I bring them in the woods. They're out, they're going, we're moving. I live nearby. They roost by my house, and I hear them gobbling in the afternoon, and we call to them, in the backyard with my kids and stuff. As they get older, I'm sure I'll find my way back in the woods because I enjoyed it. I really did. But it's just that you can't do everything. You can't fish all night, then go turkey hunt all day. I might be able to do that once, might be able to do that twice, but eventually it crushes me.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. And it's funny because after coming off of, we hunt in New Jersey, we'll hunt deer from the 9th roughly of September until February. And so when I get into turkey, the thing is that I know I'm going to get some shit done during the day because I'm in the woods in the dark and then you're done by 12. So if you don't shoot something, you're done by 12. Sometimes you're done by 7 in the morning if everything goes well. But at least in the springtime, I know I can get shit done because I know after 12 I'm out of the woods. So that's one of the positives about it. But let me ask you a couple quick questions about and then pheasant and stuff. I guess you don't do a whole lot of that. I really don't either.
I used to do a bunch
I
of
don't know if
that,
you get
and
out.
I never did it.
Yeah.
I never did it on like it was. I used to belong to a gun club. We did the pheasants and everything like that. Fantastic memories. They used to grow them like on there. We used to buy them, do the whole thing, stock them. We had to,
Right.
it was an awesome time, awesome thing. I'm so happy I got to do that when I was a kid. It was just a fun time, shooting pheasants.
Yeah.
But
I
I
got
don't
you. I
mess
mean, I
with
did a
that
ton
much
of,
now.
yeah, I'm the same way, man. I did a ton of pheasant hunting, rabbit hunting. I got heavily into geese for a while, duck hunting, and I kind of it depends who you hang with. I kind of I don't really have that crew. I'll go anytime. I'm always open to going, and I'll go here and there. But now I'm more
Yeah,
about
same. I'm pretty
I'm in the
fortunate. I
woods
still
and I'm
got a
on the
couple good
water.
friends. I got a couple good friends that belong to the gun clubs, and they'll have like have like a couple crap weekends in a row, and I'll get that call because they're semi-wild. It'll be like March or the end of February or even like I believe like the beginning of April, right? I mean, it goes pretty long. Anyway, I'll get that like well after the season phone call, like, hey, we got like 25 birds. You want to jump in here? And I'm like, yeah, there's never a time that I don't want to, I got something to show. But I still get a taste of it.
Yeah, I gotcha. for anybody who's stuck with us so far up till now, we have a little delay with the Wi-Fi, but it's going to come out. It'll all come out fine. But if anybody's wondering why sometimes we're talking over each other, it's just not as sometimes this stuff isn't as smooth. So getting into something we both do, which is deer hunting. What is Eddie Mackin doing right now? Like, what's your summer? What's your mid? We're basically midsummer right now. What's your midsummer tactics for, or if you have any? You know, some people drop hunting at the end of the season. Some people drop hunting at the end of the gun season, and then they don't even think about it until it gets cold again. But what do you do midsummer to prepare for some success in the fall as far as deer go?
So I don't really mess with the deer until probably this time next month. What I do now,
Okay.
and it's just like it's because it's over the top, and I'm just gonna roll on to it. Just give you a heads up. But the what I do now is because the bears they rut now, right? They breed this time of year,
Right.
and this is a pretty good time if you could find where the bears like have like scratching posts, local like spots, just like commutative spots and everything like that. So I'll run my cameras on like like big pieces of water, like like say like a beaver dam, like a crossing, something like that. But in those areas, you'll find like spots that like a bear will always go to, right? And I know you asked me about deer, but what I'm doing now is like what I'll do is I'll bring like spray, right? Just like a little bit of spray, like a scent, whatever it is, cherry spray or blueberry, whatever. And I just spray the tree, right? And like once you recognize where they rub themselves, then you know where to find them. And this time of year, the bears are doing like miles and miles and miles, just roaming aimlessly. But once that bear locks in and he smells that and he rubs his back, if you get him to rub his back on that tree, I'm telling you, it's just like a dog on a hydrant. He will come back and he will rub that tree, and like he'll keep coming. And especially if you get a couple more in the area, and you get like one of those, it's like a community scrape. It's the same thing. It's like a rubbing tree. And then that's what I do every so often it pans out. Like that's what I do all through the summer months. But every once in a while, and it just happened just the other day, I got a pretty decent buck showed up on there. It just curiosity. I'm not baiting. I'm not doing anything. It's just scent. And he'll come by and they sniff it, or you catch deer in those same little necks. Or the bit where the bears are and everything else. But what I'm doing right now is I'm just concentrating on the different bears that kind of roam through the area right now, because right now it's just like the rut. Instead of like wasting your time come bear season baiting in a spot where like he might not be, then
Yeah.
there's no sense of you being there, to target that. If he's a ridge over, or 2 mountains over, or a mile down the road somewhere else, then that's where he focalizes, and
Right.
then that's where you got to be. And that's how I do that just for the bears, just because we get the deer hunt like 6 months of the year. You know what I'm saying? The deer change so much. I mean, like literally half the year we can chase these deer. I hunt in a northern zone, so maybe it's 4.5 months. It's not the full 6, but I mean, like you're still pursuing the same deer for like that's 120 days. You're pressuring yourself and the deer to get in there to go to make it happen. You know that's the thing about for the bears, you have 6 days, 7 days, 9, I think it's like 12 or 15 days total to make it happen. And that's why I get my eyes locked in on the bears. Just it's more of like like where's the inventory? It's just like the rut in November than it is right now. It's for the deer than it is for the bears, and that's what I do now. It's just like it's more entertaining.
Yeah.
I don't get me wrong. I like looking at the deer with the big velvet, the whole nine. But like I
Yeah.
felt in years past that like I don't bait the deer. You can't bait the deer where I live. I live here in the north, right? And I'm in the top of Morris County. I if you can't throw anything down without the bear showing up anyway. So everything I do anyway is
Right.
pretty much it's baitless. I don't bait until it's frigid and there's snow on the ground.
Yes. Yeah.
You're just bringing in bears anyway. So my tactics I really don't start looking for deer until I'm closer to their pattern, to that time I can
Okay.
go actually.
Yep, and that makes sense, and it's interesting because anybody who lives in, or I guess you don't have to live in North Jersey, but anybody who's up in the North Jersey area chasing, because we're in the hotbed of the bears. Pretty much, we're in the hotbed of the bears in comparison to the entire country. There's no doubt about it. But we have some interesting hunters up here, and you're one of them. But we have some interesting bear hunters up here in North Jersey that are really dedicated, really good bear hunters that are doing. It's funny. I asked you the question about what are you doing for deer right now? Because and I do more of that. I do more deer stuff than bear stuff. But the bear hunters like yourself and some of the other guys who you and I know a lot of the same names are so dedicated. I give you a ton of credit. I kind of treat the bears almost exactly the way you talked about the deer. The bears for me, I shot one bear on my wall, never targeted another bear again, just because of the amount of work it was, and I just really never. I enjoyed that day. I wasn't really targeting a bear. It's funny though, because this year might be the first year that I'm actually thinking about targeting a bear again. I think it's because of some of the magnificent bears that have been taken in New Jersey. Every year, there's always a beauty that gets taken or a couple. But for me, a lot of it has to do with having a group of guys that are willing to jump in after you shoot the bear, if you shoot the bear, to help you do all the work that's involved. So this year, it looks like I might have a few people that are willing to help me if I take one during the week. So I'm going to probably do a little more targeting of a bear, exactly the way you said it. So you pretty much have gone after a bear every year that the season's been open here in New Jersey for the past few years?
Sure have. Yes, I have. Yeah,
So
I try
that's
to
your
shoot too.
focus?
When they give us, yeah, it's not that it's my call it my main focus. It's just that like it's the challenge of getting it done. In I don't know what year it was. I think it was like 2015. In 2015, the bear hunt was still kind of like fresh. We only had a handful at that point, and in 2015, my group, we shot more bears than deer, did bucks during 6 Day Firearm. And
Really?
yeah, it was just really wild. And then it rolled right into the first year of the bow hunt in 16, and we let them have it again. Like we just shot them in October, and then we got to shoot them again in December, right? So it was just like, we were just really banging on them. And we got to see how like our deer came back. We were like overrun with them, and I don't want to sound like they're just full on nuisance, but there has to be balance, right? You got to balance in your life. There's got to be balance in the woods. It's all over, right? I mean, it's a management hunt for a reason.
Yeah.
But man, we shot a bunch, like a bunch. That first year in October, I think my crew went like 8 for 9. My father was the only one that didn't get one. It was just like nuts. Like if you were there, like you shot one. Like it wasn't like if you wanted to come shoot one, we had a place for you to come in and shoot one. It wasn't hard, and then I did it again in December, and it's good, but we saw the rebound of the deer hunting, because like once deer season comes, and it's coming around the corner, I'm already shooting my bow, I'm doing my thing. It's that you gotta I juggle the fishing thing right now, right? So in the back of my head, like I know the deer do the repetitious patterns like every year. Things change. Sometimes they're over here, sometimes they're over there. But at the same time, like, you can put out enough cameras, you can get a good general, consensus of like what's going on, in a pretty short period of time, like who's around, and you can locate a halfway decent deer. And then, like, you go out of your way, you shoot your doe first, if that's like your thing, because if you get the early season or whatever. And sometimes right out of the gate, you locate a halfway decent buck, a buck that meets the threshold of like, what, that's a good one for me, and like you go for it. And, I've shot them as early as was like late September, and then you gotta, you wait. Juggling the fishing thing, I fish like pretty consistent right through Labor Day, right all the way into, and I was pretty proud of myself last year. I did quite a few trips in October last year, and I say that, and I say quite a few. I probably did 12 or 15 trips last year in October. Most of them were like, evening trips, for like catching walleyes again, jigging walleyes and stuff. But like that's a hard juggle for me, because like I want to be in the stand. Like I want to be there. When those leaves start to change, like I don't want to be anywhere else but in the tree. Like always, always. And it was hard for me. I'm proud of myself, just because I didn't think I was going to be able to like do that. I get like locked in. I'm like a pit bull. I don't like let go. I'm in and I go, and I have to. Yeah, I have to balance that. And it was tough. It wasn't as easy as it was, but I was proud of myself for doing it, because I was able to go out, shoot some deer, do my fishing trips, still be successful, find time to bait bears, this, that, the other thing. It was just like it gets busy, it's busy, but I was able to, balance it out.
That's cool, and we'll throw some pictures up of some of the stuff you took last year, I mean, and even years prior, because I know I've seen you've taken quite a few nice animals, so it's good, and it's funny because I'm listening to you. I mentioned about needing a crew with bear, where you don't necessarily need a crew with deer if you're hunting solo, but that's kind of what I'm doing now. Is I got word last year of a couple guys said to me, hey, if you shoot a bear, we're available during the week. We'll come and help you, whatever. And I keep a 4-wheeler and a trailer, ready, and myself and some rope and big gigantic jet sled for. I've helped other people over the years, and I think this year is the first time I'm going to probably. I haven't shot a bear. The only bear I shot with the shotgun. So now what I'll do is I may focus more on the archery end of it. I wouldn't mind getting that done, and I think that's going to be my focus this year. And then again, you got to have the contacts before it's a lot of work leading up to that hunt. And then if you get one, you got a lot of work ahead of you. So,
Yeah, no, it was.
that's
I
all
got
stuff
beat up
I
this
have
year.
to,
I got
yeah.
beat up this year.
You were
Yeah, when
probably,
I shot that big one. Uh,
yeah,
it's like it's you deer hunt, everything else is cool, but like when you bear hunt, it's like a society. It's like
yes,
you gotta know, and it's like
yes,
just as well as I know is that like like I'm not, it's kind of like a thing like it's your turf, it's your turf. It's like everyone keeps to themselves, but like hey, I need a hand. Like you're coming because you want to know why. Just on the other hand, if you shoot when he's coming, like that's just how it goes, right? And man, when
yes.
I shot that big one this year. I was like sitting there, and me and my buds, like we're still physically able to do like quite a bit of lifting, quite a bit of quite a bit. And this thing's like 600 pounds, ballpark. And I'm sitting there, and we can't even move it. We can't even slide it. We can't get it to go nowhere. It died in the worst place you could ever imagine. And I'm just very, very fortunate.
Of course.
Very, very. I mean, I can't even explain how fortunate I was for the group of people that came. One, just the guys that were there when I got to it, and then the whole new regime that came after. Like we just left because I was like, what are we gonna do here? We can't do anything with it. We got to go back, regroup. We need to go do like everything. And I was like, it was a real struggle, but like you make a couple phone calls and the guys just showed up. They just showed up, and I couldn't be any more grateful for those people. I really can't, because I was ready to cut the damn thing in half and just take it out in pieces because I was like, I can't. There's no way we're gonna
Yeah.
do it. But I got a couple friends that I think that would have done pretty good in Vietnam. I could definitely tell you that. They cut the crap down out of there like you wouldn't believe. They cleared a lane. I was like, shit, dude. I was like, Google Maps is gonna call us. I was,
You need those
I was like,
guys, man. You need those.
oh man,
That's the crew
I
you
can't
need.
tell you how many times we counted a 1, 2, 3. We must have counted 1, 2, 3 about 7 zillion times. I
Uh
feel like 1, 2, 3.
man.
Yeah. It was a tough one,
And
and I again those guys.
you
There's a
you
group.
move it a
Those
half a
group of
foot.
guys. Yeah, 3 feet at a
Yeah.
time, 3 feet at a time, and like, and
Yeah.
I would in a place that I wouldn't put my worst enemy. And it's just like it was just
I
the
know.
worst, just the absolute worst. When we got that thing, it got to a point where I didn't even care. Like, you want to get a machine? You're like, well, at this point, might as well just bring it up the hill, just keep going. And it's beyond grateful. I mean, hopefully, Charlie Shahanis has it right now. It's going to be done up and everything, so that's going to be that'll be squeezed in here somewhere. I don't know how I'm going to put it up in there, but
Right.
that was a tremendous animal. I was really,
You'll
really
get it up
happy
there.
with it. I'll find a way.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out.
I know he's got a great rep of his mounts. He's got a really good reputation, Charlie. But it's everything you said there. It's about the crew, the camaraderie, the friendship, the stories, helping each other out. And sometimes sometimes you get together to do a track job and you don't find it, and it sucks. Whether it's a deer or a bear or whatever, but that's what it's all about. And people who don't live the lifestyle, like we live the lifestyle. People who don't live the lifestyle have no idea how many ups and downs there are in this thing that we are addicted to doing and loving, and getting up in the pitch black, going out in the freezing cold, getting eaten alive by bugs and mosquitoes and pulling ticks off you, but we wouldn't trade it for anything.
The mental preparation that you have to put yourself through, like you have to think about that you shot this thing and like where it's gonna go. and what it's going to do and all those other stuff, all that stuff. You shoot a deer, where's it going to go? God forbid. I mean, like all this stuff plays out in your head all day. That's just what you do. I mean, that's what keeps you sharp in a way, right? But you have to prepare yourself because at any point in time it could happen. And let me tell you something. I've had some really, really rough deer stories where, you track them, you don't find them. And then, this particular bear, it was just, I'm not going to call it that it's bulletproof, but when you're shooting something that's 3 feet wide, it takes, it can eat a bullet, it does, they're not, they're strong animals. They really are. And, with the track job and everything else. And, it's just, I had Darren Duran with the dog because it was getting squirrely and like in the swamp and everything like that. We weren't sure. I mean, just through the whole circumstance. Anyway, when we locate the bear, Darren's like, boy, I sure hope you got good friends, because he goes, this damn thing's going to suck. It's just like, I was like, thanks, bud. And I was grinning ear to ear, but I was scared to death because I was like, man, I don't know how the hell we're going to get it out of there. Yeah, we did. I couldn't believe it, but we did. It was fun.
Now, how long were you on that bear? How long were you eyeballing that bear for
So
before you
that's another
got the
thing.
shot?
I mean, I can literally make a whole nother podcast out of this thing because it's just like a deer that you have like history with. But last year, the year before, so I shot that in 24. In 23, this bear shows up on a bait about a mile from where I shot it. This in 24, and it just becomes like resonant. And I'm like, wow. And I had a couple encounters with it, and they changed the laws. You can't hunt over the bait, so I got to be 100 yards from it. And like 3 days in a row in 2023, the bear walks like outside my range. And of course, the day I get the gun in my hand on the fourth day, I'm waffling him. Like he's got to be 400, 450. I'm shooting him. He had a very distinct, super big white chest on him, right? Big blaze on him. I mean, like real big, right? Kind of like straps up on his shoulder a little bit. It's really, really high up on his chin.
Wow.
And he's big, he's like a big, big bear, big boar. And it would have been still going to be my biggest bear regardless. See, if I had 400 pounds, it was going to be my biggest bear. And of course, on the fourth day, he never shows up. I never see him again. That December, he shows, but he becomes very, content with at the location. And same barrel, and it gets to the point where he doesn't want to show up in the daylight. So finally, like 3 days before like the opening day of gun season, of course, like you act like you don't, whatever. But every day he'd get up and like leave a half hour before sunrise, right before like the shooting light. So I'm like, man, I'm never gonna beat him, like never. It doesn't matter like where he goes, whatever. It's so cold, it's crunchy, whatever. So finally, one of the old timers told me, he was like, why don't you just go in there and kick him off and see if it changes his thing. I was like, you know what, dude? I got nothing else to change. I'm like, that might be the easiest thing. Well, I went in there at like 6 o'clock. He was just sitting there. I walked right up to him, started yelling at him, and the bear runs off. The bear never came back, And I sat there. I was like, geez, So I'm hunting about a mile from that location in 2024, and I'm doing a bear thing like I usually do, and I got my eyes on like another good one. He's about 400 pounds, a totally different animal. And about a week before the season, it looked like the best way I can describe it, it just looked like the size of a Cape buffalo walking into the camera, into my Tacticam. And I'm like, oh my God, there's a giant there. And he comes in, and immediately there's like a discrepancy between bears. And it was like the middle of the day. And then he kind of did a couple loops, and next thing you know, he's the only one there. And I go in and bait, and he just stayed there. So now I caught him at like a certain time. He's and I only got to deal with him for about maybe a week, 2 weeks before I shot him. He just happened to like walk in on the bait and was totally content. And the fact that I was like, and I didn't even think it was the same bear. I had no idea. At this point in time. Right. I just recognized that I had like a giant bear coming in there doing whatever. And the same thing, I hunted him the first 3 days with the bow. He walked underneath us with the bow in the dark. He'd always come like in the dark, like, but he had like a morning routine. So I didn't want to go in there, and bears are weird, just like deer and anything else. You can't like push them. You can't bump them too much because they're smart, they're super smart, not to like, make like a story of it anymore than it has to be. But a guy that we bear hunt with up in New Hampshire and Maine, the gentleman's name is Jason Parent at a Northern New England Outfitters. So we're sitting at camp one time, and the guy tells me, he goes, you know why the bears are like, they're smart, dude. And I'm like, what do you mean they're smart? Like, I don't understand. Like, what do you mean? He goes, they're smart. He goes, you ever see a deer at the circus on a unicycle? And I said, I started laughing. I was like, nah, dude, I'd never seen it. He goes, dude, think about it. He's like, and they got that accent, and we're rolling, right? We got a bunch of drinks in us, and I'm rolling, right? And he's like, dude, he was like, the bear dies, they get another bear, the bear gets on the unicycle. He goes, dude, I can't even do a unicycle. Think about it, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm laughing. I mean, I'm thinking laugh, but you got to think about that, right? I'm like, this is logical. I mean, like, these things are super intelligent. They're super intelligent animals. And to get that big, they got to be super intelligent. So you can't press it that hard, right? And you always have to, like, you respect the game just like a big deer doing like everything else. And at that particular time, I didn't want to press the deer any more than I had to. So, or the bear, excuse me, the bear any more than I had to. So on that fourth day with the muzzleloader, I got a crack at him at just after legal light. He came in like before legal light, and I let him do his thing. I took a shot, and I was able to capitalize on him with the muzzleloader, and then I ended up having to dispatch him with the bow because he ran in towards like houses and stuff like that. It turned into like a little bit more of a
Nice.
saga, than I went to. But like he ate the muzzleloader bullet like it was no man's business. It was that's the only way I was able. But it wasn't until that bear was in my garage, and like the gang of guys were here, and we're all drinking beers, and and I'm immediately it's work, just like you said. We busted our butts getting it out of there. We're busting our butts. Now you race to the weigh station to get it weighed. It's got to be checking in. So you check it in, you're like, great. You check it in, and you gotta get back. Now it's work. You work even more. Now you got to cape it. You got to like quarter it up. You got to get it cooled off. You got to do everything right. So it's like, I don't know, maybe it's like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and there's like a party in my garage. I'm not even here with the bear yet, but everyone's already here, and we got the thing on the floor, and my one buddy just like sitting there. He looks at it and he's like, dude, that's the bear. That's the bear. And he's like yelling at it. And he's like, that's the white chest bear. That's the bear. And like, and it wasn't until it was in my garage, I was like, oh my God, dude, it's the bear from last year. Like I would have never, didn't put one and one together at all. I got pictures of this thing, looked at him. I looked at him. I was in 2023. I walked right up to him and damn near like kicked him just to get him off the barrel, just because he would just lay in front of the barrel and sleep. And
Right.
just one of
Right.
those things. It's just one of those things where it's like a saga, It's like, he just
Yeah.
it's really really strange how it all comes to head, like I can't believe like that one showed up. There's like thousands of acres here, thousands of acres of woods, and that's the one that showed up. It's just like this was his core area, just like a buck, just like a deer. This was his core area,
Sure.
and I just, God knows how many. I hunt public land. God knows how many other baits there are around, people and competition and everything else. Just for the stars aligned the way it did and everything else, it was really cool. And like I said, the guys after that helped me out and everything like that. That was just the whole thing was just like super special. It's no different than like when you shoot someone shoots a big buck or whatever. It's the same concept. It's just a lot more involved. So
Yeah, and it's great story. I mean, I can't wait to throw the pictures and all up while you're talking about it, because it's makes for really good shit to watch and listen to. But it's funny because you talk about the unicycle story is great, but the interesting thing is, if somebody shoots a 4.5 or a 5.5 year old buck, they're like, man, that buck is so smart. He's 5.5. Well, some of these bears, I don't know how old yours was, but some of them are 12, 15-year-old bears. And basically, New Jersey has had a season of some sort. We had a season or two where our genius governor shut it down, but basically the season has been open for quite a few years now. So if a bear makes it 10, 12 years or more, he's seen it all, and their nose is ridiculous. Their sense of just their smarts is ridiculous, but their nose is nuts. So, you shoot a 12-year-old animal like that people are actively hunting. It's a friggin' smart animal. There's no doubt about it.
well,
So
that's
what you
that's
pulled off
that's
there is pretty amazing.
yeah, no, and again, I got super lucky. There's guys out there that have done it way better than I have. I hunt bears, I harvest bears. I don't harvest 500-pound bears every single year. That's my biggest bear by 200 pounds. I shot a 300, I think dressed a little over 300 pounds with the bow and 16. Other than that, most all my bears are 250 to 100 pounds. I'm not, I'm a bear hunter. I'm not like a full on trophy hunter, but what I like to bear hunt. That's I love that. There's just something about it. It's different. I like it. But just as you go to say about like a deer, um, you know, the game with the deer, it intrigues me. You know, you lock yourself in. I get like locked into a spot. I get locked into a deer. One of my good friends, I mean, they get like, it's a super big obsession. You know, it's to the point where like you don't know what to it. You start second guessing everything you do, like everything, you know. And what I think the most about anything is making the best of your time. You know, because time is the most precious thing. I think that nobody even, you don't know how precious time is. Let's put it that way. You nobody actually appreciates that as much as they can. You don't. I don't think you can.
Right.
So what happens is I dedicate my time. I find time. I make time. I'm able to do that with my work, which is, and my wife she's a saint. You know, there's no doubt about it.
They all are.
I work a lot, but yeah. Well, what happens is when you sell your soul to like the devil to go fish, you know, to make a living like fishing,
Yep.
you know, that my only getaway,
Yep.
it's my getaway. And once she figures out one day that maybe I make money hunting, then like it'll probably be ruined for me forever. But you know, my only getaway is hunting, you know. That's to be honest with you, it's true.
Yeah.
And like, you know, and when I hone in, I lock in, dude. Like I'm all in. That's just the way it goes. And if I think I can make it happen, I'm gonna go try to make it happen. And if that means like hiking up the side of a mountain with in like 5 inches, 10 inches of snow, and like most people would be like, you're never like, why, what are you doing? Like, what do you do? Like, you know, like, but like, cause like, you know, everyone else is gonna drive in with their truck. I'm not gonna go drive in my truck. I'm not gonna let the deer know I'm here. I'm coming in, like I'm going. You know, I'm gonna go find him. I promise. You know, like I'm gonna go. You know, I'm gonna go
Yeah.
till my legs hurt because this is the time I have. This is what I'm gonna do, and you have to capitalize with that. You know, whether it's in the tree stand, you're ground hunting, doing whatever, it's capitalizing on the time that you have. So you got to make the best of all your time. You know, cameras nonstop. You know, I buy more AA batteries. It's probably super concerning to the Amazon guy. You know, it's got to be. You know, like super nuts. But
I switched to.
I don't ever stop, man. I really don't. One season just
No,
cycles
I
into the
got you.
next season. I think March is probably my only month, and my father used to call it maintenance month, right? That's what my father always called it, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he'd be like, it's maintenance month or whatever. But now that like we get these, I want to say our winters aren't terrible. You know, we get like a later winter. Like we'll press that right in there, and then as soon as ice is out, we start fishing again. And next thing you know,
Mhm.
you're my now be because I run a business, my boat is in the water in the second or third week of March, and we're out fishing again. Like that's it, boom, right
Right.
away. Like I'm back in it. I don't have. There's no layover time of me to so like it really does roll. One season rolls right into the next. You know, that's just how it goes.
Yeah. And we love it. So I got to go back to the bear for a minute before we wrap this up. You said you shot it with the muzzle loader. It ate that bullet. How many grains were you shooting? What kind of bullet were you shooting? And
So I was
how many pellets did you have
100.
behind it?
I shoot a CVA Wolf, right? Pretty basic gun, right? That's it's a inline 209, right? So 100 grains of pellets of regular the two pellets. I don't know what is that, triple sevens, right? And then I use a Remington came out with them. It's a Barnes solid copper bullet, right? 250 grain.
Okay.
Does wonders. I've shot plenty of bears with them before. You know, I shot a couple bears that were in the high twos, 250, 260s, 270s. Blows right through them, knocks them right out. It was a very effective bullet. But I literally shot an animal that was twice that size, right? If you went moose hunting, say here's an animal that's 800 pounds, 900 pounds. If you went moose hunting, any of the moose guides there would tell you whatever you shoot your whitetails with, shoot the moose with, right? You can effectively do that. I tried to apply that to the black bear, to like a big bear, and I did that, and I took the shot, and the bullet. I mean, the muscle mass, the fat, the fur, just the muscle structure, the bones alone on a five. So my bear dressed 565, right? The estimated weight was 630 pounds alive, right? 630, right? Now
Yes.
that's a big bear. It's not the biggest bear, but that's my biggest bear, right? So this thing is like a
That's a big
unit,
bear.
right? It's a big bear, right?
Yeah.
And I shoot this thing, and the bones, the rib bones were like as big as like cow ribs. You know, like I'm saying, like if you can picture what a skeleton of a cow looks like, that's how thick the bones are. So like you get the impact of like the bullet, and I can shoot. I shot the 200-pound bears, and they would blow right through. And you're thinking of a bear that wide has got to be 18, 20 inches wide, right? And it would go right through them, no problem. Solid copper, holds all retention, like everything. I mean, like you buy the quality bullet, that's what you do it for, right? And Yeah, no, this thing just ate the bullet. It just like ate it. I shot it more towards the back, the way he was sitting, like in front of the barrel at 103 yards, which is like the most barbaric thing that the state has to do. You want to talk about opinions? I mean, I just don't have no idea why that's even like a thing. Still, it's the most bizarre, ludicrous thing ever for management. I mean, just ludicrous, right? I mean,
Absolutely stupid.
yeah, totally stupid. Anyway, I've shot deer at that distance. I'm proficient at that distance. When I felt like I was ready, I was going to take that shot. I took the shot and I hit him more towards like where the ribs wrap up towards like the back, the way he was sitting. And my bullet hit that and it just like it demolished a portion of his like the spine into the ribs, just the way he was sitting, facing away from me, you know? And it wasn't exactly maybe the best shot opportunity, but at that time, that's the shot I took, right? I mean, like you pull the trigger in, pulling it back, but I was like, that's what I'm getting, a shot for the center of like everything I had there. I touched it off. And, you know, and when we got up to it, the bear was totally in paralysis. The bear had made it from shot, went about probably 300 or 400 yards. It wasn't that far. The problem was it just went into that super thick, nasty swamp where I believe he resided. We watched him come out of it a couple nights before with the bow. You know, we heard him coming, watched him come out of it. We knew he like lived in there. That's where he was, you know, he was living in there. And anyway, that's where he ended up going back, right? That's where he feels safe. But when we got in there, we were walking in like this black mud that was up to our knees. It was just like a disaster, like worst place you could ever be. So that's how we backed out and ended up getting the dogs just so it was a little bit more, you know, what the dog can find. The tracking dog, Darren Duran does like a fantastic job. And anyway, the tracking dog does it in like milliseconds to you, like your hour, you know, like the dog just like runs right through the track. So it was it felt a little bit more safer and doing whatever. And yeah, when we got up there, my bullet was, I believe, I think I still have it actually here in the cabin. It was all in one piece, just like stuck in there, but it fragged his entire back and everything, and he was in paralysis. And there was some internal bleeding. I don't know what I hit because when I shot him with the bow, he like popped like a balloon. It was just like blood all over the place. Yeah, there was
Wow.
like
Yeah.
he was filling up. You know, there was some internal bleeding. I just don't know what I hit because my bullet didn't go in that far. You know, I'm just telling you, the spine. You know, imagine just take like you're an average man, like your forearm. His spinal structure was this big around, like it was insane. Just like it's a next
That's crazy.
level like animal. Yeah, it's nuts, you
It
know.
is.
And I'm sure if I was 40 yards away and I was able to take a nice clean broadside, I would have got the double lung and do whatever. And I'm not saying there's people out there that couldn't have done it at 100 yards, but at that moment, at that angle, I decided to take that shot. And I thought that was going to be my best shot. I knew I hit him good because I flipped him over at the barrel. Like he kind of like, you know, locked up and he rolled at the barrel. And I got to see that for a half a second before his adrenaline pumps in and he takes off. And I knew I hit him solid. You know, I knew I hit him pretty good. And yeah, anyway, you know, and that's that again, it was just it's a whole next level thing. You shoot a big deer with the bow, right? How many times you can shoot with the bow, and next thing you know, you shoot like that deer. It seems like he's got body armor. You hit him in the shoulder, and the arrow just kind of like goes down, and like you hit shoulder. You know, it's the same kind of concept. You know,
Yeah.
they're next level animals. They
Yeah.
really are. You know,
Bear, I agree with you 100%. Bear, totally next level. I mean, listening to everything, I mean, you know, it's unfortunate that we have to shoot them at distances like that because of the regulations that New Jersey has implemented, which it's stupid. But with that being said, I shot my bear at only like I think I shot him at under 40 yards, ground level, standing on the ground with an AccuTip 20 gauge, which I think is a 250 grain
it's about the
bullet in there.
same.
I'm not sure
Correct.
how much powder is in a shotgun.
It's about the same.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
about the same. And my bullet didn't. I double lunged him, but it stopped it didn't exit him. I got the bullet. The butcher took it out. I got a beautiful mushroom bullet. So he stopped that thing at 40 yards. So it's incredible, really. Let me see if I get you back, Eddie. I lost you for a second. Well, folks, after about an hour of struggling with Wi-Fi problems, Eddie Mackin and myself got disconnected, and we were not able to reconnect to actually give you a proper ending to this podcast. However, this happens sometimes, and so I spoke to Eddie on the phone, and I told him I'll just do a quick goodbye video, attach it to the end of the podcast. great information from Eddie about his business and about his hunting, especially the bear hunting. And there's so many more things I want to talk to him about. So we'll probably get together again at a later time and touch on some other stuff that he's involved in the hunting and fishing world. So with that being said, big thank you to Eddie for finally getting on with me. And we struggled the whole time. I don't know if you could tell or not. You probably could. We were struggling because the Wi-Fi connection was really bad. I know we had a bad storm just the other day, and I mean it doesn't normally happen, but we did struggle from the get-go. And the whole time as we were talking to each other, we were losing some video and audio, and we just kept going. And luckily, the podcast downloaded. What you see there, actually, we're happy that came through. So say goodbye to you. I'm saying goodbye to Eddie right now on this video. I already said goodbye to him over the phone. Appreciate his time. Really interesting stuff. Whether you're brand new to fishing or an intermediate or an expert, reach out to him. His website is Rippin Lips Fishing Trips, and it is or fishing trips with a G. RippinLipsFishingTrips.com is his website. I'll put that up here. I'll put his Instagram up. I'll put his Facebook up. You could also reach him at 973-697-3807. And also in the comments here on YouTube or Spotify, you can ask any questions. He'll see the questions. I'll see the questions. We'll make sure they get answered. And definitely consider getting out on the water with him. I saw the pic. He sent me a bunch of pictures, which you'll have already seen at this point. I'll have them up there. I mean, looks just like just a fantastic time on his fishing trips. And wish him the best of luck with bear and deer season as well coming up. And I'm hoping myself to get out there on the water with him. So, and folks, once again, sorry about the way this podcast had to end, but still, it was a great hour and 15 minutes. So enjoy it, like it, share it, leave any comments you have, subscribe to the channel. We got some really great podcast guests coming up over the next couple of weeks, and we're going to keep chugging along, and the how-to videos are coming. We haven't really started making them yet, but as we creep in toward the beginning of deer season, there's going to be plenty of how-to videos and a lot of hunting, a lot of deer and bear hunting guests coming up. So thanks a million. Hope to see you at the next episode. Thank you. At this time, we'd like to thank our supporters and sponsors. Signal 11 Lures, Lip Glue, New Jersey Multi-Species Podcast, Sever Broadheads, Jersey Fluke Bellies, Favorite Fishing Rods, Timberlife Outdoors, and Buck Knives. If you enjoy the content on our podcast, please like and subscribe and turn on notifications. And please tune back in for our next episode. Thank you.